bring in the one and only Daniel Dale. Daniel.
Here we go.
There was a lot of deception from the president there. So here's a reality check.
Y'all hear that?
There was a lot of deceptions from the president, though. So here's the reality check. The reality check is I got no bass in my voice. I got no bass in my voice. I got no bass. How low can you go? That guy right there needs a reality check about how to get that helium out of his throat and put some bass down here.
There is no doubt that DC has for decades been a high crime city. It is among the US cities with the highest homicide rates, though there are a bunch of other big cities that are worse. And DC did indeed have a big crime spike in 2023, which is the year the president kept citing. But contrary to what the president said today, even in 2023, DC did not have an all-time high in murder. It was way worse during the crack crisis of the 80s and early 90s. And more presently, Dana, the president was just flat wrong when he said it's getting worse now, not getting better. Crime in DC, including murder, has fallen sharply since that 2023 spike. It fell in 2024. It's fallen further in 2025.
Not really.
Well, y'all. Here we go.
A D.C. police commander is under investigation for allegedly making changes to crime statistics in his district. Tonight, the police department confirms Michael Pulliam was placed on paid administrative leave in mid-May, a move that came just a week after Pulliam filed an equal opportunity complaint against an assistant chief. And the police union accused the department of deliberately falsifying crime data.
It looks like the plot thickens. Now, you think that guy with no bass in his voice is taking that into consideration? That's my question. You think all these folks who you're going to be witnessing whining and complaining about Trump's taking over and he's just making stuff up just so he can go in and rule over all these black people and threaten and intimidate them and stuff like that? That's his motive. That's his motive. So just like we established that Trump made efforts to protect folks in other countries, people of color who are a lot of the victims and stuff like that. Same thing with our cities. When he sends in folks to bring back law and order, he's doing that to protect citizens. That is the job of the government. But apparently, this guy who's a police officer was either instructed, commissioner, whatever he's, instructed to pad the numbers, or he's doing it, I guess, to make it look good. Maybe he gets a bonus check or something if crime goes down. So let's continue watching this.
Sports Paul Wagner has the story.
Well, hi there. The D.C. Police Union is putting its allegations on the record tonight, claiming police supervisors in the department are manipulating crime data.
Manipulating
crime data to make it appear violent crime has fallen considerably when compared to last year. As of today, according to the D.C. Police website, crime is down 25%, a decrease the chairman of the police union calls preposterous.
Preposterous. Yeah, just like inflation is, all the transitory and just like the border crossings were down and stuff like that. All of these fake numbers the Democrats have to use because their policies suck. And because they govern so recklessly and so horrible, they have to lie and make up and manipulate stuff to make it seem like we're good folks that can govern. No, they govern horribly in every category. Economically, socially, everything about the party. And whatever they put their hands on, it turns to shite, not gold. Now, not like the Don, okay, who has the Trump effect. Whatever they touch, it turns to 100% pure shite with flies on it. Let's continue.
Imagine that.
Yeah, reality.
In early May, 5 law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation.
Hey, there's the DEI hire, y'all. The police chief right there, or DC Metro. The one who didn't know what chain of command meant. I thought, so ma'am, who has the chain, what is the chain of command, huh? What's that? And Mayor Bowser had to step in. I feel this one. Oh, God, girl, you making me look bad. You know I hired you because you black. Now, look, go ahead and sit down somewhere. I'll take care of this. Didn't even know what the chain of command meant. No wonder. It's a mess.
Tell News 4, Pulliam was placed on administrative leave with pay and told he was under investigation for questionable changes to crime data.
When our members respond to the scene of a felony offense where there's a victim reporting that a felony occurred, inevitably there will be a lieutenant or a captain that will show up on that scene and direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense.
Now, y'all see how these people of power try to craft a world reality that is not true to manipulate people and to get their preferred outcome. Think about COVID. During that time, you saw these numbers going up, just skyrocketed. And they were using that to justify serious crackdowns and lockdowns. Look at the murder, the death toll. Look at the death toll. Look at the death. And then you find out that they gave incentive to hospitals and stuff like that to categorize all of these deaths as related to COVID. We found out that these were motorcycle accidents. Guy fell off a ladder, broke his neck from COVID. All of these things that they were saying, I'm going, y'all are constantly manipulating numbers. Y'all are giving incentives to folks to lie about this stuff because you govern with the effort and desire to control people. And your policies suck so bad, you got to pad numbers. You got to come up with false realities, fake realities to control people. They are horrible. And then when you recognize it, then of course they want to censor you and call you whatever.
So instead of taking a report for a shooting or a stabbing or a carjacking, they will order that officer to take a report for a theft or an injured person to the hospital.
There it is. Injured person. Here I am bleeding out from 2 or 3 shots to the gut. What's the case? What's the situation? Yeah, we got an injured person. He fell on 3 bullets. Fell right there on his stomach on 3 bullets. Did he fall on the bullets or did somebody put the bullets in him? He fell on the bullets, okay? He's just an injured person. That's what that is. Now, do you know how foul this is? But all of these fake news networks, they're not going to report that because they want Trump to look like he's a dictator and he's going in just to show everybody, here comes King Trump.
Or a felony assault, which is not the same type of classification. Think about that.
I am.
Pemberton says the union has been gathering evidence for some time now by looking at reports and talking with officers all over the city.
What we've heard through our members and through members of management that are willing to talk with the union is that this is a directive from the command staff. Is that
Bam! A directive from the command staff.
they want to make sure that these classifications of these reports are adjusted over time to make sure that the overall crime stats stay down.
Yeah, so that people like
No bass in the voice.
can come out there and say Trump's lying about this. People like Bowser and the rest of all of these fake networks can say when crime or the Democrats, whenever the Republicans come out and say crime is running rampant in your cities, yeah, we want to be able to come out and say that's not true because crime is going down statistically because we're padding the numbers and we're manipulating and stuff like that. They already know that their cities are trash. They already know that the crime rate is high. And that's why they put people in place and they encourage people to downplay that. Same thing with the illegal immigrant crisis or the illegal immigrant criminals. They don't classify them as, illegal immigrants when they commit crimes. It's just a Maryland man committed a crime today in Atlanta. An Atlanta man, wait, that ain't no normal, regular Atlanta man. That is an illegal immigrant man who committed it, but you don't want to put that in there because then it'll look like, look at all of these illegal immigrants and the chaos that they're bringing. But because the Democrats are responsible for that chaos, they don't want you to know that chaos directly, relates to their bad choices and policies. Let's continue.
Today, the department's website says violent crime is down 25% when compared to the same time last year, and overall crime is down 8%.
That's preposterous.
That's preposterous because folks that live in reality, that's walking around D.C., I bet you they don't feel like it when the young boys come up to them and say, give me that nice fancy car you got, and stuff like that. What about the man of color who was an Uber driver and 2 girls, they went ahead and jacked him and then they drove off and drug him down the street to his death? What about that? You think he felt like crime was going down? All of that mess that's going on up there, crime is down. So the word on the street is it isn't. That's why I'm not ever going up there until y'all get this mess together. But right now, since Trump sent in the boys, I might feel a little safer walking around the city. There you go.
There's absolutely no way crime could be down 28%. Last year, they suggested that it went down 34%.
Crime in DC, including murder, has fallen sharply since that 2023 spike. It fell in 2024. It's fallen further in 2025.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Do you think that is an
Wait a minute. Here we go.
appropriate use of those federal resources?
Appropriate use of those federal resources. I mean, that's the whole job of the federal government, is to make sure our citizens are safe and protected.
Actually, I think it's a disgrace that our nation's capital is crime-ridden. I think it's a disgrace that tourists and visitors come to Washington, D.C. and they don't feel safe. I think it's a disgrace that, roving bands of teenagers are riding, hundreds of dirt bikes around Washington, D.C., shooting guns, shooting off fireworks, and you have these roving bands.
They down there like the Wild Wild West. The Wild Wild West. The Wild. They up in that bad boy like, welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. They're having a great time. Welcome to the jungle.
Of carjackers. It's a disgrace. This is our national capital. You shouldn't have to feel that way, whether you live there or whether you're visiting on the streets of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
It's a unique place because it's a federal district. It's not in a state. And I think the president, has rightly decided that something has to be done. It has a very high homicide rate when you compare it to other world capitals. And so I'm anxious to see how far he wants to take this. But frankly, I think for the people who live there and the people who visit there, they're going to welcome extra police presence on the street. That carjacking that happened to the White House staffer the other night, there were a couple of cops sitting there. Had they not been sitting there and witnessed that, I don't know what would have happened to that poor kid. He got
big balls. Now, see, here's the thing. Yes, Trump has to step in and do something. You know why? Because they're not. Do you think that these darn Democrats are going to self-correct when it comes down to the crime that they've allowed to ensue? All the demonizing of the police, the handcuffing of the police and shackling them because of all of their new liberal, relaxed policies concerning crime. And, of course, threatening these police that if you lay your hand on one of these precious scholars who are carjacking and shooting and jumping people, you might mess around and find yourself like, Chauvin. Yeah, there you go, Derek Chauvin. You might end up like that. Might end up like that guy. So, police are going to risk their lives, their whole career, going out there trying to chase down all of these young adults who will be back out on the streets in a few minutes? Absolutely not. So Trump has to do something, because guess what? Crime by nature does not self-correct. In fact, unchecked crime will only grow. When you start seeing that other folks are committing all of these crimes and you're growing up in an environment that breeds stinking thinking, that you are subjected to a lot of people who commit these crimes and then they appear to be prospering. They're not being made an example out of. You know what kept me out the penitentiary growing up? Was watching the older guys who I admired for a second do something stupid and go to jail for a long time. That made me look at them and say, was it really worth it? I mean, I know and stuff, I used to look at that dude as cool because he had a nice pimp walk and he talked with a feathered down voice. What's up, young boy? Come here, man. Give me some. You good, baby? You know what I'm saying? Now, all of a sudden, I'm like, what? Victor's in prison? For how many years? 20. That right there made me go, that's what not to do. But if I saw Victor getting away with it, Victor got caught, put him in there for about 36 hours, let him out, smacked his hand and said, now, Victor, don't do it again. Gotcha. That might have convinced me that maybe a life of crime ain't that bad in an SO-ran Democrat city. Let's continue. I hate to be on these rants, so I ain't going to be able to finish this tonight. Let's continue.
Beat up by 10 people, a 10-person gang. And so I think the more patrols you have, whether it's park police or whoever, the safer people will feel going around our nation's capital.
Yeah.
They exist in a state of lawlessness. I mean, we have blue cities all over this country and blue states that have sanctuary laws where they have encouraged illegal immigration. I mean, that's the problem in California, is that illegal immigration has been welcomed and coddled. And then when you go in and try to enforce federal law, there was, all sorts of unrest and violence and mayhem on the streets.
Yep. So Democrat cities have doubled for the trouble that they've asked for. They're sitting back saying, you know what? Let's go ahead and have a whole large group of illegal immigrants here, including the criminal and violent ones as well. Okay. And then let's have a sanctuary city. Now we got two elements of crime now that is taking place. You got illegal immigrants taking place that's doing whatever they're doing. You got the young black scholars that are violent. And then sometimes when needed, when somebody tries to come in and clean any of that up, then you're seeing in your third group, the dang on Antifians and all of the radical ones you use for political violence. You see how that works? All of these ingredients and stuff that the Democrats put together, big fat combo and gumbo of violence. You got the inner city who say they're distracted. They're focusing on the precious illegal immigrants and stopping ICE. So while they're doing all of that, we'll be doing all of this. Out there in California, when Trump went out there with ICE and they were out there throwing stuff at ICE and all of that violence was taking place, what do you think was taking place across the city when all the cops were tied up over there? What do you think was taking place? You know what was taking place? The young black scholars were going ahead and breaking into stores and looting and taking all of the stuff and running off because the Democrats were so focused on whatever was going on over here with the precious illegal immigrants. The young black scholars are like, I ain't got to worry about this. They're more focused on that. That is how chaotic these cities are ran by these Democrat politicians. Unbelievable.
And so that was a situation brought about by the local officials there trying to resist, I think, the enforcement of federal immigration law. In Washington, D.C., everybody who lives there and everybody who visits there on a regular basis knows it's not safe.
Not safe. And you know what else is a misappropriation of resources? When they opened up our border and they had all of our border control patrol agents babysitting all the illegal immigrants, and when they were coming in, they were going ahead and processing them. You know what that did? Just like was taking place in these cities. When they were focused on trying to protect those illegal immigrants from getting shit back out of here, and the violence took place out there in LA with all of the young black scholars. Same thing with the cartel. Yeah, while they had our border patrol babysitting and processing all of these people, the cartel was having a great time bringing all of that fentanyl across the border. These are the choices of Democrats that have consequences, cause and effect. Yeah, you take your resources to protect whatever crooked investment you guys have, indulged in. And yet what that ends up doing is weakening society in another area. Unreal, these Democrats. Thank you, Scott, for being honest.
It is not safe. And there's even discussion in the ranks of the police department there. I think one guy's been put on suspension because they've been downplaying the crime statistics there to try to give people a false sense of security. So I don't think this is political. I think it's about safety. And in the case of California and other blue states, I think it's about the enforcement of federal immigration laws that are on the books. And you have Democrats in those places trying to resist that. I do not understand.
What? And the way they react to Trump when he's doing practical common sense things, what they end up doing, they're swearing up and down that it's all political. It becomes very political and positively political when they react to it that way. And folks are looking at this going, now, wait a minute. Y'all having a fit over Trump wanting to bring down crime in a city and reduce homelessness? That's your reaction? You're only helping him politically. He picks issues that should be common sense. But he goes, I'm politically going to benefit off of this because I know that the Democrats and the left is going to go all in on Trump's doing this and doing that. When common sense regular people are going to also say, I don't see what the problem is. I'd rather see the police walking around than somebody taking me and carjacking me out of my own car. I'd rather see that. So now, yes, it benefits him politically, but it's indirectly. If they would have all got on board and said, yeah, Trump, whatever you can do to straighten this out, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Glad we got a president who believes in law and order and is willing to do something to protect the citizens. But nope, not them. Not them. They pick the stupid side of the choice. They say, okay, Trump's doing something good. And the inner city folks are going, phew, I'm an inner city law-abiding citizen. And I'm scared for my own life. Thank you, Trump, but not the Democrats. They would rather allow these folks to live a life of fear when it comes down to the crime in their cities.
There's some kings in the building. Throw your fist up and show some respect. There's gorillas in here. Gorilla in here. There's gorillas in here. Gorilla in here. There's gorillas in here. Gorilla in here.